People who never post on social media notice everything.
We live in this age where we share everything. Our wins, what we ate for lunch, even our heartbreaks. It's all out there. But there's this really interesting kind of growing silence happening. Some people are just choosing to be invisible online. They're still there, watching, scrolling, but they never, ever post. So, what's behind this quiet rebellion? Yeah, that's the big mystery we're going to unpack here. In a world that's literally built on sharing, why would anyone choose to stay invisible? Why would you step out of the spotlight when it feels like everyone else is dying to get into it? Well, the answer? It's a lot more complicated and, honestly, way more empowering than you might think. Okay, so our first thought is usually, oh, they must be shy, right? Or maybe a little detached, maybe even antisocial. But the reality, it's something way deeper. This is a choice. It's all about taking back control of their own story, finding some real authenticity, and just being present in their own lives. So to really get why people are stepping back, we have to look at what exactly they're rejecting. And, social media, it's not just about talking to people. Psychologists call it identity crafting. Think about it like this. It's a constant, nonstop performance. Every single post, every picture, every clever caption is basically asking the world, do you approve of me? It's like this endless audition to see if you belong. And man, that audition gets exhausting, right? When you're always thinking about the perfect angle, the right filter, how to frame this moment for your audience, you kind of stop actually living it. Your life just becomes this curated highlight reel. You're not the main character in your own story anymore. You're the director, the producer, and the marketing team all rolled into one. So what's the alternative? Well, it's pretty simple. Just living your life. It's deciding to experience a moment for what it is, not for how it's going to look online. You could almost call it a kind of digital mindfulness, actually being in the moment instead of standing outside it, with your phone out. And that really gets to the heart of the mindset shift here. For the people who go quiet, the goal isn't about getting a thumbs up from everyone else anymore. It's not about proving who they are. The focus completely flips inward. It becomes this journey of trying to understand themselves, far away from all that noise and all that judgment. But let's be real. What makes that performance so addictive in the first place? Why is it so hard to stop? Well, it literally comes down to our brain chemistry. There's this super powerful biological loop that keeps us hooked on that digital applause, and breaking out of it is tough. So here's how that cycle works. It's pretty simple. 1, you post something cool, a highlight from your life. 2, the likes and comments start rolling in. 3, your brain releases a little hit of dopamine. That's the same chemical you get from rewards and pleasure. 4, that feels good, so you start craving that validation all over again. And 5, you post another highlight to get another hit. And that loop just keeps going, teaching our brains that our worth is tied to how many likes we get. So, how do you break a cycle like that? It starts by realizing there's only one person you actually need validation from. Just one. And that person is you. Resisting that dopamine loop isn't a sign that you don't care. It's an act of serious self-worth. And there's actually a psychological term for this. It's called an internal locus of control. It just means your sense of who you are, your happiness, your worth, it all comes from the inside. You don't need 1,000 people on the internet telling you you're great to actually feel great. And that is the ultimate antidote to that addictive dopamine loop. But for a lot of people, going silent isn't just some big philosophical decision. It's pure self-preservation. Because that constant pressure to perform, to always be on for an audience, it eventually leads to this very modern, very real kind of burnout. And this burnout comes from a few places. You've got the emotional fatigue of just scrolling through endless perfect lives. Then there's the trap of constantly comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. And experts also talk about self-presentational pressure, which is just that draining feeling of always being watched, always being judged. At some point, for some people, the price of being seen is just too high. Stepping back lets you reclaim something we've kind of started to forget about: privacy. And I love this quote because it reframes the whole idea. Privacy isn't about being lonely. It's about having intimacy with yourself. It's about finally getting the chance to hear your own thoughts again without all the noise. Okay, so this brings us to the final and maybe the most important part of all this: the incredible freedom you find when you choose to be unseen. When you step back from the feed, what do you actually get out of it? Well, for starters, your real connections tend to get a lot deeper. When you're not spending all your energy on these kind of shallow digital relationships, you have so much more to give to the real meaningful ones, the kind of friendships that don't need a public post to prove they exist. You start to see who really checks in on you, without needing a status update to remind them. And in all that quiet, something really amazing happens. You start to hear yourself again. Your own thoughts, your own wants, that inner voice that got drowned out by the performance, it all starts to come back. It's not about withdrawing from the world. A lot of people describe it as a kind of homecoming. Ultimately, making this choice is a really powerful statement. It's saying, my identity is not up for debate. It's not defined by what you see online. It's knowing that you are a whole person, even when, especially when, no one is watching. Your existence doesn't depend on anyone's perception. Which all leads to this one big, nagging question. It's a question our culture asks all the time, even if it doesn't say it out loud. If you didn't post it, did it still happen? Does it even count?
Well, the people staging this quiet rebellion would say, absolutely. In fact, they'd argue the opposite. The most important things, the moments that really truly shape us, our big breakthroughs, our private wins, our deepest connections, those things almost never make it to the feed. They happen quietly. They happen when no one's watching. And maybe that's not just okay. Maybe it's essential.